Hello everyone and welcome to another edition of Let's Talk Criterion, and we look this time at what's coming our way in the US and UK in the month of August, and it's set to be an interesting month. But before we look at next month's releases, can I just say how much I enjoyed guesting on Lucas the Filmmaker's live stream a few weeks back. We talked a lot about Criterion, of course, and it's great to see an active community of younger fans really getting their teeth into the Criterion titles. And Lucas already has quite a collection. It's great to talk with you, Lucas. His channel link is down in the description if you want to check it out. So what do we have coming up in August? Well, we start with the final arrival of Brian De Palma's Blowout in the UK collection and the 40th anniversary of the release of that film. It gets its UK release in Criterion. This director has a reputation of delivering tense thrillers and out-and-out psychological horror throughout his long and distinguished career, with Criterion titles already such as Sisters, Dressed to Kill and Blowout in the collection. He's fairly well represented. Blowout contains a brilliant performance by John Travolta, a sound effects recordist for a CD film company. Late one evening, he accidentally hears a fatal accident involving a prominent public figure, and although he rescues the passenger inside the car, his problems have only just begun as he records the entire event on his high-resolution sound equipment. It all kicks off and we embark on an adventure which is both a mixture of sleuthing and tense thriller. Done very much in 80s style, but to be fair, it is an 80s movie. I personally think it's one of Travolta's better performances, and his screen co-star with Blowout is Nancy Allen. She's a firm 80s favourite, and she gives a great performance. Blowout is directly based on the Michelangelo Antonioni 1966 film Blow Up, also in the Criterion collection, Spy number 865. The film replaces the medium of photography employed in that film with the medium of audio recording instead. The concept of Blowout came to De Palma while he was working on the thriller Dressed to Kill in 1980. The film was shot in the late autumn and the winter of 1980 in various Philadelphian locations. De Palma's hometown, incidentally, is Philadelphia. As was typical in the 1980s, it got a bit lost amongst the glut of high-profile releases at the time, and it didn't enjoy major box office success. But it was destined to become a fan favourite in future years, and it certainly doesn't disappoint on that front. I wouldn't say that this is De Palma's best work. For me, it's got to be Carrie, but nonetheless, I'm delighted that Criterion enthusiasts in the UK are finally able to enjoy this release, especially in its 40th year. It's worth mentioning some of the supporting cast in the film, starting with the superb John Lithgow as Burke, Dennis Frantz as Manny Carr. Now, if you recognise that name, it's because he was the airport police captain in Die Hard 2, and John Aquino as Detective Mackey. The features, as always, are comprehensive and give you more insight into De Palma as a filmmaker. These are an hour-long interview with De Palma, conducted by the filmmaker Noah Baumbach in 2010, an interview with the actor Nancy Allen from 2011, De Palma's 1967 feature Murder à la Mode, interview from 2010 with the cameraman Garrett Brown on the Steadicam shots featured in the film within the film, on-set photos by photographer Louis Goldman, an essay by the critic Michael Schragow, and for the Blu-ray edition, Pauline Kael's original New Yorker interview. Now, as a side note, Pauline Kael had a notorious reputation for praising trashy films and trashing major works by high-profile directors, but she was very kind to Blowout. Blowout is out on Monday, the 2nd of August in the UK as Spy number 562. Now, if you could choose only one memory to hold on to for eternity, what would it be? Now, that's the question at the heart of Hirokazu Koreeda's international breakthrough Afterlife, a bittersweet fantasia in which 22 lost souls who have passed away find themselves in a limbo realm where they must select a single cherished moment from their life to be recreated on film for them to take into the next world. It stars Arata, Erika Oda and Susumu Terajim, and it premiered on the 11th of September 1998 at the Toronto Film Festival to much critical acclaim. Now, this director has a unique insight into the human condition. His other work in the collection is Still Walking from 2008, and his most popular recent feature is 2018's Shoplifting, an absolutely superb film which I also hope reaches the collection at some point in the future, and I definitely recommend you see. Koreeda conceived the film Afterlife from a childhood experience he had with his grandfather, who suffered from a neurodegenerative disease in a time that these kind of syndromes were not very well known. During this, he came to understand how critical memories are to our identity and to a sense of self. The whole premise of the film fascinates me. It would be so difficult to choose that special moment. What moment would you choose? Joy? Sadness? Danger? Consolation? There are so many, and I would imagine that given the age of the subject as well, that would definitely vary. So, if you would like a different film experience and to look into the very psyche of human nature, then Afterlife is a film you should watch. Now, I'll just mention that Afterlife has been released already by the BFI in the UK on Blu-ray, so that's also available at your local HMV and on Amazon, and the features on this disc, though, are quite sparse. There's a new audio commentary featuring film scholar Linda C. Elric. New interviews with Koreeda and the cinematographers Masayoshi Shikita and Yutaka Yamazaki. Deleted scenes. An essay by the novelist Viet Thanh Nguyen, and Afterlife itself is released in the US on Tuesday, August the 10th as spine number 1089. Now we switch to a Broadway musical in session recording, the original cast album of Company in 1970. Now this may sound a little bit pedestrian, but if you're a musical fan, and more importantly a Stephen Sondheim fan, then this will be manna from heaven for you. It's a real insight into the recording process. Now I personally happen to fall into both of those categories, so much so that I profess to already owning the DVD of Company and the cast album as well. Mention his name in Broadway circles and you will hear a hallowed, respectful sigh and the words maestro being whispered in the wings. The documentarian D.A. Pennebaker is not new to the Criterion collection. We already have his Dylan feature, Don't Look Back, and also Town Bloody Hall, as well as the Monterey Pop Festival. In the original cast album Company, he turns his camera on the cast of the musical while they record the original cast album in New York. Now you'll see how the songs are constructed and delivered by Dean Jones as Bobby, the central character of the piece, with the director of the show Hal Prince and a young, anxious Sondheim looking on critically while sometimes they slaughter his work. But the pinnacle of the documentary for me was certainly Elaine Stritch, known for her stubbornness and tetchy attitude, struggling to get on top of her big number in the show called Ladies Who Lunch, on a late night session with an impatient Sondheim. This is documentary gold. It's absolutely hilarious and worth the price of the Blu-ray alone. The feature itself has a running time of 53 minutes, which I know is quite short for some on a release, but it's got a premium price point as well. But the main attraction for me on this particular disc are the features, of which there are many. They are a new audio commentary by the composer and lyricist Stephen Sondheim himself, an audio commentary from 2001 featuring director D.A. Pennebaker, actor Elaine Stritch and Broadway producer Hal Prince. New conversation among Sondheim orchestrator Jonathan Tunick and the critic and television producer Frank Rich. A new interview with Tunick on the art of orchestrating conducted by the author Ted Chapin. Never before heard audio excerpts from interviews with Stritch and Prince conducted by D.A. Pennebaker and Hedjedus in 2001. And the original cast album Co-op, a 2019 episode of the TV series spoofing the film. Reunion of the cast and crew of the original cast album Co-op, recorded in 2020, featuring the director Alexandra Bono, writer-actor John Mulaney, actors Renee Elise Goldsberry, Richard Kind, Alex Brightman, Paul Appel, and the composer Eli Bolin. And a written essay by the author Mark Harris. So there we go for musical fans. Company is out both in the US and the UK. The US release hits us early on Tuesday 17th of August, and in the UK we get the release on Monday the 20th of September, and it's spine number 1090. Ashes and Diamonds is a milestone of Polish cinema. This electrifying international sensation by Andrzej Wajda is the final film in his celebrated war trilogy, entwining the story of one man's moral crisis with the fate of a nation. In a small Polish town on the final day of World War II, Maciek, the coolly charismatic Zbigniew Cybulski, a fighter in the underground anti-communist resistance movement, has orders to assassinate an incoming commissar. But when he meets and falls for the young barmaid called Ewa Krzeska, he begins to question his commitment to a cause that requires him to risk his life. Ashes and Diamonds is loosely based on the novel by Jerzy Andrzejewski, published for the first time in 1948. The novel was a mandatory school-set book in communist Poland at that time and enjoyed respect among the contemporary authorities. Photography for Ashes and Diamonds started in March 1958 and finished in June 1958 after 60 shooting days. The film was shot in 1:8:5 format, which had never been used before in Polish cinema. During filming, the crew made crucial changes to the scenario, which affected the future reception of the film. The most troublesome task the director had was to convince the communist authorities to display Ashes and Diamonds in cinemas. Party intellectuals were dissatisfied with the making of Maciek Czerminski, the main character of the film. And it was then that Andrzejewski himself, who with the support of his fellow writers, convinced PZ PR activists that the ideological message of the film was correct. Without the help of the author of the novel, Wajda's work would never have seen the light of day. It's often a recurring thing that Eastern Bloc directors really struggle to get permission to release any work at all that's remotely controversial. The official screening of the film took place on the 7th of July 1958, after which Ashes and Diamonds could be distributed in cinemas, despite the protests of Alexander Ford, who demanded that the authorities ban the film outright. Its official premiere took place on the 3rd of October 1958. And it's considered one of the best films in his career, and that ended with After Image in 2016. The features on the Ashes and Diamonds disc are audio commentary from 2004 featuring film scholar Annette Insdorf, new video essay by Insdorf on the film's legacy on the Blu-ray disc only, Andrzej Wajda on Ashes and Diamonds, a 2005 programme featuring director Andrzej Wajda, second director Janusz Morgenstern and the film critic Jerzy Palewski, archival newsreel footage on the making of the film, a rare behind-the-scenes publicity photos and production stills and posters only on the DVD disc, and a written essay by the film scholar Paul Coates. Ashes and Diamonds is available in the US from Tuesday, August 24th, and it's spine number 285, as it's already available in the collection on DVD. Now, we move back to the UK with a classic from 1950, All About Eve. It gets its UK release on Monday, August the 23rd. Now, when you think of classic films, this is certainly one that springs to mind for me. It stars Bette Davis at the height of her film stardom. One night, Margot Channing, played by Bette Davis, entertains a surprise dressing room visitor, her most adoring fan, the shy, wide-eyed Eve Harrington, played by Anne Baxter. But as Eve becomes a fixture in Margot's life, the Broadway legend soon realises that her supposed admirer intends to use her and everyone in her circle, including George Sanders' acid-tongued critic, as the stepping stone to her own stardom. Director Joseph L. Mankiewicz bravely cast the unforgettable Bette Davis in the role that single-handedly revived her career, and in fact came to define it. The multiple Oscar-winning All About Eve is the most deliciously entertaining film ever made about the ruthlessness of show business. All About Eve received overwhelmingly positive reviews from critics upon its release on October 13, 1950, at a New York City premiere. The film's competitor, Sunset Boulevard, which released the same year, drew similar praise, and the two were often favourably compared. Film critic Bosley Crowther of the New York Times loved the film, stating that it was a fine Darryl Zanuck production with excellent music and an air of ultra-class, completing this superior satire. Variety called it a literate adult film with an exceedingly well-cast performances. Marilyn Monroe even makes an appearance. Now, I would certainly agree with all of that. For me, this film shows what a superb performer Bette Davis was, and what a bankable Hollywood actress she became, with films like Pocketful of Miracles, Whatever Happened to Baby Jane, and Hush Hush, Sweet Charlotte, all still to come. Now, a word here about the packaging on All About Eve. In the US, this release has caused some controversy for a while, and there have been issues with the way it was presented by Criterion. It was set in a digipack format, but instead of the plastic holder inside for the discs, they decided to house the two discs in central rubber hubs. Now, the trouble with this is they stuck to the paper booklet, and it caused tearing at the staple point. Now, Criterion have changed this packaging in the UK to a standard plastic case as seen here on this picture. And I do hope the same package will be released here. As a Criterion collector myself, I do not want that booklet to be damaged. But we'll find out just what they've done on August the 23rd. The features on All About Eve on the 2-disc set are on the 2nd disc, and they are All About Mankiewicz, a feature-length documentary from 1983 about the director. Episodes of The Dick Cavett Show from 1969 and 1980, featuring actors Bette Davis and Gary Merrill. A new interview with costume historian Larry McQueen. Hollywood Backstories, All About Eve, a 2001 documentary featuring interviews with Davis and others about the making of the film. Documentaries from 2010 and about Mankiewicz's life and career, The Wisdom of Eve, the 1946 short story on which the film is based, and a radio adaptation of the film from 1951. Also, promotion for the film featuring Davis herself. And a written essay by critic Terence Rafferty and The Wisdom of Eve. Now, All About Eve is a more expensive title in the UK with a retail price of £25.99, and it's available as spine number 1006 here in the UK, new to the collection from Monday, August the 23rd. A quick mention for the UK release of Deep Cover, a slick neo-noir film from 1992, starring Lawrence Fishburne and Jeff Goldblum. Now, I actually covered this release in detail in the July edition of Let's Talk Criterion, and there's a quick link now on that showing on the screen if you want to check that out. Deep Cover is out as spine number 1086 on Monday, August 23rd, and it's directed by Bill Duke. So finally we crossed the pond for the final release of August, and a film that caused much excitement when it was announced by Criterion as coming to the collection. It's Beasts of No Nation, directed by Kari Yoji Fukunaga. The nightmare of war is seen through the eyes of one of its most tragic casualties, a young child soldier in the harrowing vision of innocence lost, from Kari Yoji Fukunaga. Based on the acclaimed novel by Uzodinma Iweala, Beasts of No Nation unfolds in an unnamed civil war-torn West African country where the young Aju, that's Abraham Atta, is in a haunting debut performance, witnesses carnage in his village before falling captive to a band of rebel soldiers led by the ruthless commander, an explosive performance by Idris Elba, who moulds the boy into a hardened killer. This film is a hard watch. More because it really did happen, and still does, to many children in African countries. Their whole childhood is stolen by the harsh indoctrination at the hands of either a military regime or a despotic ruler. The director's relentlessly roving camera work and stunning visuals creates realism so intense and visceral it borders on the surreal. It immerses the viewer in a world of unimaginable horror without ever losing sight of the powerful human story at its centre. The film was shown in the special presentation section of the 2015 Toronto International Film Festival and released on Netflix globally. Kari Yoji Fukunaga directed his own script, having worked on it for 7 years, and it was not until after 6 years of research on the Sierra Leone Civil War that Fukunaga came across the Beasts of No Nation novel. The dialogue in the screenplay is faithful in form to the novel, originally written in a lighter form of Nigerian Pidgin English known as Creole. This modern film is well worth a watch. It may not be altogether pleasant, but it will certainly be enlightening. Abraham Atta won the Best Actor in the Independent Free Spirit Awards for his role of Aju, and Idris Elba won Best Supporting Actor in the Screen Actors Guild Awards. The features on the disc include a new audio commentary featuring Fukunaga and his first AD, John Mallard, A new documentary on the development and making of the film, featuring interviews with Fukunaga, the author Uzodinma Iwelia, actors Idris Elba and Abraham Attah, and producers Amy Kaufman, Daniela Taplin-Lundberg and Riva Marker. A new conversation between Fukunaga and the film and television producer and cultural commentator Franklin Leonard. A new interview with the costume designer Jenny Egan, and a written essay by the film critic Robert Daniels. Beasts of No Nation is released as spy number 1091 on Tuesday, August the 31st in the US, and here in the UK we get the release a month later on Monday, September the 27th. Well, that's it for August, and as you can see, it's a varied and exciting collection of releases ahead, so place your pre-orders now. Before I go, it's worth mentioning there's a strong rumour around that Criterion will be entering the 4K market soon, following the lead of many other boutique labels. As to whether it will be this year or not, there is still speculation on that, and what title it will be. The hot favourite at the moment is Citizen Kane. When Criterion finally release their press release, you'll be sure to know here on Let's Talk Criterion. Next month we have Mona Lisa from Neil Jordan. We Throw Down with Johnny 2. There's Love and Basketball from Gina Price Blythewood, and We Are the Damned from Luchino Visconti. And there's the essential films of Melvin Van Peebles. So I'll see you all next month. Until then, stay safe and above all, keep watching those great movies.